We have many different AAPI cultures represented. It's important for them to come back to the community, to be in uniform, and to be an example and a role model for people to see that we're part of helping others.
旧金山县警局平时主要负责监狱、法庭的治安，与旧金山市警局 SFPD 巡逻街头，回应911报警电话职责不同。像是在华富地区，县警局的主要工作是协助市警局来做巡逻，而主要治安问题仍然是交由市警局来负责。我们可以看到，过去3年期间，针对亚太裔的仇恨罪案比例增多，也清楚明白了解仇恨跟歧视问题的确存在，因此保持安全，让民众对治安恢复信心是很重要的。但问题背后的最大原因到底是什么？应对潜在的攻击或是目睹了这样的仇恨暴力事件，县警局是否有一套安全守则提供给大家？在今天的仇恨边缘节目当中，我们为大家邀请到是加州历史上第一位的亚裔旧金山县警局的局长宫本保罗来到我们节目。除了分享他个人执法经验跟挑战之外，也请保罗带我们来关注一下枪支暴力的问题、反亚裔仇恨犯罪以及仇恨暴力等相关的问题。相信今天的节目一定会让您收获很多。赶快进行我们今天的仇恨边缘。各位观众朋友，晚安！在今天的节目当中，我们特别为大家邀请到是在旧金山历史上第一位的亚裔旧金山县的县警局局长宫本保罗来到我们节目当中，我们一块来欢迎他。Hi, Sheriff. How are you today?
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Thank you for joining us on our show. So before we talk about the main topic of hate crimes, as the first Asian American sheriff in California in San Francisco history, can you tell us a little bit your background?
Yes, so I'm fourth generation Japanese American, half Japanese, and third generation Chinese American. My mother's family is the Tom family, and we've been here in San Francisco my whole life. I had an interest in serving the community in law enforcement and was fortunate for the opportunity 27 years ago to join the sheriff's office. And I've risen through the ranks in the office during this time, worked in different areas, and was positioned very well with my knowledge and experience to become a leader as the sheriff, as the elected sheriff here in San Francisco. And very fortunate.
So what does it mean to you to be the first Asian American sheriff in San Francisco?
I think it's very important because we have a large Asian American population here in San Francisco to be in a leadership role, to be an example for others to follow. I'm very fortunate in our sheriff's office. We have 38% AAPI staff members. And so even within the office, I represent a large portion of our department, and we reflect the community as well. We're over 72% people of color in the sheriff's office.
So is your American dream to be a sheriff?
Since I was a little boy, yes, it has been my dream to be in law enforcement. To be the new sheriff in town is just a dream come true.
Wow, it's a dream come true, yeah. Yes. So you were elected just before the onset of COVID-19. So what's the biggest challenge to you as a sheriff during the past few years?
I think the biggest challenge was ensuring everyone was safe through vaccinations, through the processes which kept us working, even as everyone else was sheltered. All of our staff were all still out there working. We were still keeping the community safe. We were still responsible for people in jail, people in the courts. We were a part of the Department of Public Health's safety plan because we have deputies at all of the hospitals and health locations. So we were challenged because all of us were challenged in the community by the pandemic. And the vaccination process was one of our biggest challenges, to make sure people were vaccinated, to make sure people were safe so that they could help other people.
So can I say that the sheriff department is more focused on public safety?
Absolutely, yes. So our job in law enforcement is public safety, to make sure everyone is safe in the community. And we're unique. We have a partner with the police department here in San Francisco. So both of us are law enforcement agencies, but our job is unique because we take care of people in jail, people in the courts, the civil court process. We're a part of that to act on court orders and warrants. So we also contract with other city agencies and are in charge of protecting government buildings, hospitals, places that people go to for help from the government.
So you just mentioned the San Francisco Police Department. So we know the San Francisco is very unique, both like a city and a county. So what's the biggest difference between like a sheriff department and the police department? And are there any differences or similarity?
More similarities than anything, yes. So we wear different uniforms, but we're all trained the same way as peace officers in California. We go to police academy. Deputy sheriffs in the sheriff's office are trained even more to deal with prisoners and to deal with the jails and the courts. So we have additional training on top of the basic police training. Our job duties are very similar, but as you mentioned, Jaron, the County of San Francisco is very unique because it's the same geographically. So our jurisdiction is exactly the same. The police department by city charter is responsible for patrolling the streets and responding to calls for service. Our department, as I mentioned, is responsible for the courts and the jails, and our police services are contracted out with other city agencies. So our jurisdiction is shared, but some of our duties are different.
So how do these two departments handle the cases?
We handle the cases very similarly. If there's an arrest, a crime is committed and we respond, we arrest the person if we know who the subject is. We process the cases the same through the district attorney's office. And the district attorney's office is our justice partner that makes a determination on whether a case goes forward. So we go through the same processes as the police department to ensure that we're all partnered together, that the person goes through the justice system.
Thank you for your answers. Let's take a break from here.
Absolutely.
是的，那我们就在下一节节目当中，我们就来探讨一下这个枪支暴力问题，还有仇恨犯罪跟仇恨暴力的问题。休息一下，马上回来。旧金山市因为市县合一的关系，旧金山县警的巡逻范围主要是政府部门和公共场所，例如像是医院、法庭跟监狱等。而宫本保罗指出，现在执法必须面对许多问题，除了监狱囚犯人数不断上升，部分囚犯患有各种精神疾病之外，还必须面对种族歧视、仇恨犯罪，甚至还有近来比例逐渐上升的枪支暴力问题。这些烫手的问题，县警局又会如何面对跟处理？接下来，仇恨边缘将继续带您关注，而为大家邀请到正是旧金山历史上第一位亚裔的旧金山县警局的局长宫本保罗，再一次欢迎他。Hi, Chef. Welcome.
Yes.
Let's talk about the hate crime part. Regarding to the AAPI hate crime, could you share any data your department has compiled with our audience?
Yes. So we partner with the police department for San Francisco's data on all different types of crimes that we report to the state. For hate crimes, between 2020 and 2021, we saw a significant increase in the amount of hate crimes reported, from 9 in 2020 to 60 in 2021, which was a huge increase, over 500% increase. What's very fortunate is from 2021 to 2022, we didn't see that jump. It went from 60 reported to 36. So there was a decrease. But these numbers can be very deceiving, Jaron, because these are only reported crimes that there was follow-up and charges filed on regarding the crimes themselves. There are a number of hate incidents that occur that are reported not just as crimes, but as behaviors as well. And I think in 2021, there were over 11,000 reported hate incidents, and that can vary from an actual crime to a behavior to hate speech that is documented. And we get a lot of our information from Stop AAPI Hate, a national organization that helped to compile a lot of these records. because different police agencies in different jurisdictions weren't documenting them specific to AAPI.
So that's why it's so important for the victim of a hate crime to report it, because
Yes.
we need that data.
Yes. One thing that's very discouraging for people right now is that there's a perception that nothing happens to people who commit crimes, that nothing happens to people that engage in hateful behavior. I want to reassure the community and everybody out there that it's very important to report that, because there is follow-up. There is, if there is a crime involved, there is an interest in bringing that person to justice and giving them a level of accountability for their actions. But if it's not reported, we can't act on it.
So as we can see the surge of the hate crime targeting like the Asian community, so what do you see the biggest cause behind it?
I think part of the cause is definitely a stigma attached to the Asian community because of the coronavirus pandemic, because of hate speech, which claimed that this was a Chinese disease, the Wuhan flu, or the China flu. Those kinds of statements are hateful and hurtful, and they cause people to blame others. And I think, facing the pandemic and the challenges we had as a community, people wanted to point the finger at somebody, to blame them for, being sheltered in place or wearing masks. And so I think that the Asian community was targeted specifically by certain people to blame the Asian community for the coronavirus.
Let's talk about the gun issue. I think it's a little bit related to the hate crime, so which is have been major concern in Chinese community lately. So what do you think about the gun issue, these problems?
Well, recently there was a Supreme Court decision back in October, the Bruin decision, which basically changed the process for getting a concealed weapon carry. A CCW is what we call it. And that's not gun ownership, but it's actually the permission to carry your gun concealed under certain circumstances. And throughout the country, the ability to have a CCW is something that is provided by the chief law enforcement officer in the county. So that's either myself as the sheriff or the chief of police here in San Francisco, because we have a shared jurisdiction. So either one of us can issue a CCW. The part of the process they took out was the good cause requirement, which means that before the Supreme Court decision, Bruin decision, you had to have a reason for having a permit, a CCW permit. They took that requirement out, so now if you have a clean record, you go through the background process with the agency. When you apply for a CCW, the chances are that you would receive the CCW if you have a clean record.
So about the ghost gun crime, so how does the sheriff department handle these issues?
For the ghost gun crimes, we're looking to the state legislature to create the legislation which helps us in the management. When we deal with crime, we deal with weapons or guns on the street. We have a gun violence restraining order that we issue out. It's part of our program to keep people from owning guns. Ghost guns are very challenging because they're illegal to have, since there's no serial numbers and there's no process to track the gun itself. So when we come across those, we're looking to having better laws that hold people accountable for possession of the ghost guns. We were partnered with current city attorney David Chu. When he was in the legislature as an assembly person, he was a champion of gun restrictions and was working on some ghost gun legislation. We look forward to working with our current representation up in the state legislature to continue that. We're also very fortunate because Rob Bonta is currently the Attorney General for California, and being a former San Francisco city attorney that we've worked with, we're hopeful that he will help with some of that legislation and some of those laws to further govern ghost guns.
We appreciate your insights, and I believe our audience got a lot of information from your sharing. So let's take a break from here. 好的，在下一节节目当中，我们就带您关注这个县警局跟市警局两方到底如何合作来确保民众的安全。上一节提到，旧金山市因为市县合一的缘故，旧金山县警的执勤范围主要是政府部门和公共场所，维护公众安全的同时，还必须和不同单位合作跟协调。而旧金山县警局跟旧金山市警局要如何分工合作，达到保护民众跟游客人身安全跟财产保障呢？另外，随着城市的重启开放，会有更多人走上街头 ，API 仇恨运动方面是否有不同的配套措施来处理？在今天节目当中，我们依旧为大家邀请到的嘉宾是旧金山县警局的局长宫本保罗，带你们快来关注跟了解。Hi, Sheriff. I got one question because we just interviewed Chief Scott a couple of days ago. So, can you share the experience working with him with us?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that San Francisco is very fortunate to have Chief Scott as the chief of police. We've worked together since day one, before I was the sheriff. He is someone who we partner with daily in keeping San Francisco safe. As we focus on specific things, we partner with them in planning and being strategic about where our resources are. It's very challenging. I want to mention that both the Sheriff's Office and the Police Department are very understaffed right now. In terms of our numbers, we are supposed to have about 950 deputies, and we have about 700 right now. So we're down significantly, just as the police department is. They're down significantly as well. So it's very important during these times when we're understaffed that we support each other in keeping people safe.
I just asking one question a couple of days ago that I'm gonna ask you again. What's your daily and routine work? Because we know you guys are so busy. So what do you do in the daily schedule?
Daily schedule?
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't do what I want to do. But it is challenging. I think one of the wonderful things for me as the elected sheriff in San Francisco is getting out into the community and being able to talk to the community like we are talking right now, so that they know about the good work that all of the deputies and our staff do. Despite being short-staffed, I want to highlight the good work being done, because a lot of our staff, just like the police department, are working overtime many times, and they're working double shifts. So not just a regular shift, but an additional shift the same day. And I think it's important to let the community know that there's those efforts being made to keep them safe. I think in my daily job, being out there in the community, and then also being partnered with the different people in the justice system, not just the police department, working with the judges and the courts, working with the district attorney's office, working with the probation department. We have a number of meetings and plannings and making sure we're all working together to keep people safer. Also, listening to people who have concerns, because there are advocates, there are community-based organizations that all help us, but also would like to see certain things. So always being open to speaking and talking to people is a part of my job. And then lastly, if I'm fortunate, getting out there just to try to keep people safe by being a peace officer is something that I hope to continue to do.
I see. So regarding to the corporations, we don't see the sheriff and the police officers at the same event that often. However, we just noticed there's one corporation in Chinese New Year parade last month. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so during special events like the Lunar New Year celebration, not just the parade itself, but all of the festivities, we try to make sure that we have deputies there as well, and that's to help the police department, to help the community feel safe. And I've participated in the parade itself for over 20 years now. We have a lion dance team, the SFPD lion dance team, but it's not just police officers, it's also sheriff's deputies and people from other agencies that come together. So I've done the Dragon Head now for a very long time.
I heard about it. You know how to do the dragon dancing?
Yes. Not so much the lions anymore, but the dragon, yeah. We have a 20-person dragon that we have that we put out for the parade every year. And it's feeling heavier every year, but I still do it because it's a wonderful experience to be a part of the community in that way.
Yeah, I did the dragon dance before too. Yeah, like 20 years
ago. Exactly.
So for you and for your department, how do you feel to participate in this like a cultural event?
I think it's very important. As I mentioned earlier, we're about 38% AAPI in our department. We have diversity in our ranks. We have Chinese. We have many different AAPI cultures represented. It's important for them to come back to the community, to be in uniform, and to be an example and a role model for people, to see that we're part of helping others.
So with the city reopening, yeah. So do you think the hate crime will increase?
I'm hopeful that it won't, but I think the most important thing is if you see something, you say something, because we won't know if it is increasing unless people report it. And it's very important because we actually ultimately want to hold the person accountable.
Last question of today. So do you have any additional message you want to tell our audience, like the public safety tips?
If you're a victim of a crime, it's very important that you report it. Call 911 if it's an emergency and it's actually happening right there. If it's a property crime or something that's happened that you've discovered, whether in a business or a vehicle or your residence, make sure you call and report that as well so that we can document it and write a report on it. If you see others in crisis or being challenged or being victimized, it's important to report that immediately as well because they may not be able to right there. But at the same time, we don't encourage people to jump into a situation and place themselves in harm's way. So we encourage people to report and get proper help to situations as soon as possible.
I really do get a lot of information from our conversation. So thank you for your time. I hope we can speak with you as soon as possible.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to come back. And again, I want to encourage everyone to understand that we're all here for the community. We're part of the community, and we represent a large portion of the AAPI community. And I would encourage people with an interest in helping others and in public safety to apply for our department. You can go to sfsheriff.org and get the information there. Or if you have plans for a career in public safety in general, please consider applying to a job in San Francisco.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. 旧金山种族仇恨犯罪、反亚裔仇恨暴力这样悲剧还没有结束，也不会马上结束。加上枪支暴力的问题，如同雪上加霜。反对种族主义、反对仇恨暴力事件、反对枪支暴力问题，除了有警方的保护之外，更重要的是要身体力行去尽一己之力，平息恐惧、恢复安全感，警民合作。亚裔作为一个整体，我们必须互相保护着彼此，了解不同族裔的文化，进一步的得以让美国人不分族裔的团结在一起，阻止肇事者继续在实施暴力袭击。也许仇恨暴力不会马上停止，但不努力肯定不会有成果。感谢您收看今天的节目，我是海翔，我们下回节目再见。